Imagine booking your dream trip across the world, only to be met with cold stares, closed doors, or even outright hostility the moment you arrive. For millions of Black travelers, students, and expats, this isn't a rare horror story. It's a recurring reality in certain countries where racism and deep-rooted bias still thrive. These aren't always places that you'd expect. In fact, some of the most developed, advanced, and globally influential nations have reputations for being quietly, or openly, unwelcoming to Black people. This video isn't about shaming cultures. It's about awareness, about helping people of color understand the social dynamics they might face when crossing borders. From public discrimination to subtle exclusion and even government policy, here are the countries where Black people are often not welcomed, and the real reasons behind it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you want more deep dives into the untold realities of global living. Number 1. Russia. In Russia, being visibly different is often enough to make you a target. And for Black residents or travelers, that visibility can come with a very real risk. Over the last 2 decades, there have been countless reports of racially motivated attacks, especially in larger cities like Moscow and St. Petersburg. Petersburg. Some Black students report being harassed on the street, denied entry to clubs, or even followed by police without reason. The roots of this hostility go deep. After the fall of the Soviet Union, a wave of ultra-nationalism swept across the country. Foreigners, especially those from Africa, were suddenly painted as outsiders in a society struggling to redefine itself. And even today, with thousands of African students enrolled in Russian universities, many say they live in fear, avoiding certain areas and even pretending to be from other countries to avoid mistreatment. But that's not the whole story. In recent years, social media campaigns and protests have started calling attention to this issue. Some younger Russians are pushing back against the hate. Still, for now, Russia remains one of the riskiest places for Black people to live or visit in peace. Number 2. China. China is a country of extremes: rapid modernization, ancient tradition, and a complicated relationship with race. While it's home to over 1 billion people, many Black visitors say they've never felt more alone. In cities like Guangzhou, where thousands of African migrants live and work, discrimination isn't just common, it's institutional. During the COVID-19 pandemic, viral videos showed Africans being evicted from hotels, denied service at restaurants, and forced to quarantine. Despite testing negative, many said they were treated like second-class citizens. And while the Chinese government denied any racism, the reality on the ground painted a much darker picture. Even beyond the pandemic, media portrayals of Black people in China are rare and often steeped in stereotype. Black celebrities are fetishized, but everyday Black residents are frequently stared at, touched without consent, or even photographed like museum exhibits. The issue here isn't just hate, it's a dangerous mix of ignorance and nationalism. For many Chinese citizens with little exposure to diversity, Blackness is still seen as something foreign and less than. And that's a hard perception to live under. Number 3. Ukraine. When the war in Ukraine broke out in 2022, images of chaos flooded the news. But one story got buried: the story of Black students and refugees being blocked from evacuating. Multiple reports, videos, and first-hand accounts revealed that border guards prioritized white Ukrainians and Europeans for trains, buses, and exits, while Africans and other foreigners were pushed back, sometimes at gunpoint. Students from Nigeria, Ghana, and other African nations described the trauma of being left behind, ignored, or shouted at simply for trying to survive. This wasn't an isolated incident. Even before the war, Ukraine had reports of racial profiling, unfair policing, and exclusion of Black students from job markets and social spaces. It's a country grappling with national identity, and in that process, many outsiders, especially Black individuals, have found themselves unwelcome. The situation became so public that the African Union condemned the actions and demanded accountability. Yet, for many, the damage had already been done. Number 4. Israel. Israel is a place of deep history, complex politics, and ongoing conflict. But beneath all that, it's also a place where Black residents, especially African migrants and Ethiopian Jews, have long felt like outsiders. While the country presents itself as a democracy, many Black residents describe facing racism in housing, policing, and employment. Ethiopian Jews, who are Israeli citizens, have led mass protests over police brutality, racial profiling, and unequal treatment. Videos have surfaced of violent arrests and aggressive tactics disproportionately used against Black Israelis. Then there are the African asylum seekers, mainly from Sudan and Eritrea, who are often labeled infiltrators by politicians. Many are denied asylum, placed in detention centers, or forced to live in poverty-stricken neighborhoods with little government support. For a country that holds itself as a beacon of hope, this two-tiered system has exposed uncomfortable truths. And for Black individuals, whether citizens or migrants, it often feels like a fight just to be seen as human. Number 5. South Korea. South Korea is globally famous for K-pop, high-speed internet, and cutting-edge tech. But underneath the glitz is a society deeply rooted in cultural homogeneity, and that makes standing out tough. Black residents and visitors in South Korea often speak of being stared at, avoided, or stereotyped. Teachers and military personnel stationed in the country have shared stories of being rejected for apartments, treated coldly in stores, or having children point and laugh at their skin. Some of this stems from limited exposure. South Korea has only recently begun to embrace multiculturalism, and for much of its modern history, it has viewed foreignness as something to be cautious of. Add in Western media stereotypes about Black people, and you've got a recipe for misunderstanding and subtle, but constant, exclusion. That said, there are signs of progress. Korean influencers and YouTubers are beginning to speak up about racism, and some K-pop stars have shown support for global racial justice movements. But for now, being Black in South Korea still means being watched, and not always in a good way. Number 6. Japan. Japan is often praised for its safety, culture, and discipline. But for Black residents, it can also be a lonely and isolating place. Racism in Japan is rarely aggressive, but it's persistent in its silence. Discrimination often takes the form of quiet exclusion, being passed over for jobs, denied apartment rentals, or simply treated as a perpetual outsider no matter how long you've lived there. What makes it harder is that Japan has no national anti-discrimination laws. So when racism happens, there's often no legal recourse. Many Black expats describe the feeling of being tolerated rather than welcomed, appreciated for entertainment or fashion, but kept at a distance in daily life. Language barriers only make the divide bigger. And with a society that values conformity, anyone who looks or sounds different stands out. Not in a good way, but in a way that invites judgment. Number 7. Saudi Arabia. In Saudi Arabia, race and class often go hand in hand, and that's where the trouble begins. Many Black people in the country are migrant workers from African nations, and they're at the bottom of a deeply stratified social ladder. Abuse of foreign workers, including unpaid wages, poor living conditions, and physical mistreatment, has been widely documented. Black workers, especially women in domestic jobs, have reported horrifying experiences. Some are forced to work without rest, others are locked indoors, and many are denied even the most basic human rights. And because of the kafala system, which gives employers control over a worker's legal status, speaking out can mean immediate deportation. Even wealthy Black travelers or residents can face discrimination. From assumptions about criminality to outright racism in public, Saudi Arabia remains a country where skin color and social status are tightly and dangerously linked. These aren't just isolated experiences. They reflect global patterns of racism, colorism, and exclusion that still affect Black people around the world, often in places where few would expect it. In each of these countries, the challenges may look different. Some subtle, some violent, some systemic. But the message is often the same. You don't belong here. And until these systems are acknowledged, challenged, and changed, millions will continue to live with that message, silently, painfully, and far from home. Should America be included on this list? Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.